Welcome back to the Capes and Tights podcast right here on capesandtights.com. I'm your host, Justin Soderberg. This episode, we welcome comic book writer Zack Kaplan to the podcast to discuss his upcoming book, Beyond Real, over at Vault Comics, coming December 13th, 2023 to your local comic book shop, which is actually free to retailers. So make sure you contact your retailer and ask them that you want a copy of Beyond Real. We also touched a little bit on Kill All Immortals, a book that Zack has coming out over at Dark Horse in early 2024. Zack has written books such as Eclipse, Port of Earth, The Lost City Explorers, Join the Future, Breakout, Metal Society, Mindset, one of my favorite books out there, Forever Forward, and in December he has Beyond Real. In early 2024 he has Kill All Immortals, but he's done books for Image, Top Cow, for Aftershock, Vault, Humanoids, Scout, all those things, DC Comics and beyond. His book, or his comic book Port of Earth, has been adapted and developed by Robert Kirkman's Skybound Entertainment and Amazon TV Studios as well, so check out for look at that in the future. But this is Zack Kaplan, writer of Beyond Real at Vault Comics, coming December 13th, 2023 to your local comic book shop. Enjoy, everybody. Welcome to the podcast, Zack. How are you today?
I'm good. How are you?
I should say a previous world has used it as Zachary, so I don't know if Zack is appropriate or not.
No, Zack. It's it's funny when I get listed as Zachary, like there'll be like a couple Amazon author things where it's like Zachary. I feel like I'm in grade school, like I haven't gone by Zachary since grade school. So no, Zack is great. That's what
Zachary. Yeah, that's your official. That's when you're like going to like court. When someone's taking you to court, it's like, okay,
right.
Zachary.
Yes.
Writing comics.
Yes. Well, that's the good thing. Like if I get in a lot of trouble, I can just be like, I don't know who that guy is.
Yes.
Zachary, you should go find him. He's up to no good. I'm Zack Kaplan. That guy, I haven't known him since a long time, but whatever he did, like state your name for the record. We have Zachary listed here. No, I'm Zack. I don't know.
Zack. I don't know who that guy is.
I don't know.
That guy's in another room somewhere. We're under lock and key. We don't want him right now.
That's right.
But Zack Kaplan is a comic book writer extraordinaire. Obviously, we talked a little bit, just chit chatted on social media to get this set up and stuff like that. So thank you so much for taking the time out.
Thanks for having me
to talk on here. And
absolutely.
Yeah. So what have you been up to recently? Have you been like doing cons? Have you what's the day in the life right now for Zack?
It shifts. I guess I did just come back. I mean, God, it feels like New York Comic-Con was just yesterday, but I guess that was about a month ago.
Yes.
So there was a lot of build up to that. I've been doing a lot of getting the word out on Beyond Real. A lot. I mean, I have a few other writing things that I'm focused on, but a lot. That's the secret about comic creators is we don't just spend all our time writing, and so a lot of the time is spent doing all sorts of other things. So I mean, like I have like about 5 books still in development in different phases, but I'm in a unique point in my schedule where actually from a writing standpoint, I'm ahead of where I need to be on writing stuff. And so while I've been focused a lot on getting the word out on Beyond Real, whether it's, getting the word out on social media or to retailers, it's, hustling and hitting the pavement and trying to, it's a cool, not only are we really proud about the book, but it's a pretty interesting thing that Vault is making it free to retailers. And so definitely been trying to get the word out to retailers on that, to encourage them to take a little bit more of a chance or a risk than they might normally do so on an independent comic, because it's free to them.
Yeah, this is interesting. They did that with Unnatural too. Unnatural Order. Is this a new thing that Vault's doing? Just like
brand new? Yeah, I mean, I applaud them for the kind of creativity and the attempt to kind of try something different. I think everyone is well aware that the pandemic was really good for monthly comic series, and since then just the past year or so has not been great for everyone, and there's been some successes, and I think still the comic book industry as a whole is really solid, and graphic novels are killing it, and but monthlies have been dipping a little bit, and this is just a way to, and retailers, you know, and this is just a way to help retailers. We all love our comic shops, and we all want our comic shops to thrive, and we want to create a sense of community engagement when people go to the comic shop. And so this is a way to support shops, support monthly comics, and make it easier for the retailers to pick up this book and try it, rather than kind of going, oh, you know, why don't we just put a few on the shelf and then we'll see who picks up, or the subscribers who may not be aware. Vault is still, actually, they started the same time I started, which was back in about 2016.
Mm-hmm.
So, you know, both of us are still relatively new and trying to get the word out and meet more readers. And so, yeah, this is this idea. They did it with Unnatural Order, Christopher Yost's series last month. It was a huge success, 140,000 pre-orders or something, which, yeah, when they came to me and said, do you want to do this for Beyond Real? I said, absolutely. You know, yes, yes, I want, yes. I want to print 140,000 or whatever it is. I want to print more and give them away and let more people try this series, because we believe in it. We're really proud of it. And I think that if people try the first issue, they will absolutely come back for more.
Absolutely. And it also shows that Vault believes in the book too. Because I mean, if they didn't believe in the fact that they'd get the return on their investment with potentially retailers and consumers buying issue 2, then that absolutely, like, if you just like, oh, this, because in number ones aren't that hard to sell for retailers in a sense if they buy them, because the number 1, when it's on someone's pull list, is like, oh, I'll take a shot at this number 1. It's the number 2, 3, and 4 where they start to drop off, and attrition is there.
That's right.
To believe in the comic book enough to be able to say, well, they're likely going to buy at least some of these. Let's just give it to them, hoping that they buy 2, 3, 4, and so on, is huge.
Yeah, that's the goal. I mean, I think readers have that apprehension of, I don't want to just try number 1, because what if I like it and then I'm hooked on the series, right? What if I don't like it, then I'm not, you know, so I think this idea is a very provocative kind of idea of, let's give number 1 free to the retailers. Some retailers are going to make it available to their customers for free, or incentivize their customers. If you subscribe or you pick up number 2 ones for free, or it comes with a cover or whatever. Like, there's lots of different ways comic shops can orient this. They know their customer base better than we do. I've spoken to a lot of retailers. They're all extremely different. And so this is just trying to create that a lower risk on that first barrier, which is to encourage the retailers, who are the ones, let's be honest, that oftentimes turn readers on to books they don't know. You go into your shop and you're saying, yeah, I liked this Marvel book, or I like this giant Image hit. And they say, well, if you like this, you should try this other thing. It's by the same creative team, or it's the same subject matter. And that's how people fall in love with new stuff. So yeah, it's all very exciting. I'm very hopeful that we'll see how it works out, but I'm very excited about it. Yeah.
That's awesome. Vault is such a great company too. I've read so many good titles from them, and just dealing with them is really awesome as well. But so they started right around 2016. You started right around 2016. I mean, have you been an avid comic book reader, collector, obviously, since, or all this stuff, since you were young? When did you come into reading and collecting comics in the first place?
I was reading and collecting when I was young, but it was kind of more Big Two or things that I had seen on Saturday morning cartoons, far more of an immature hobby for me when I was in my childhood. I think when I got into my right out of college and kind of more the 2000s, when I was getting turned on to more Vertigo and more original creator-owned series, I think for me that was a golden era where I kind of realized that comics had a lot more depth and variety and scope, and that was when I fell in love with the idea of what I know comics to be, and kind of also dreamed of maybe one day doing a comic. And then I spent a long time pursuing it, and finally got the chance to do it. Image Top Cow's book Eclipse was my first series about a world of deadly sunlight. It was a sci-fi thriller, and it did very well. And that was when I fell in love with the craft and the medium, and kind of dove all in right around 2016. Now, that San Diego, I think, was we were promoting it at that first San Diego Comic-Con. So yeah.
You've been doing this since 2016, but it's kind of funny, like you mentioned about the getting this comic book Beyond Real into people's hands, who potentially may not even know who you are as a writer. even though you have a number of titles with your name on it. So this is not like your first
This is
debut
my
into
ninth.
comics.
This is my ninth creator-owned book, but I'll tell you what's something funny that happens to me is people will find like when I talk to someone or if they come to my table at a convention, they'll be like, "Wait, you did Port of Earth?" Or "Wait, you did Breakout?" Or "Wait, you did Join the Future?" And I'm like, "Yeah, that was." They're like, "I love that book," and I'm like, "Oh, thank you so much." And they're like, "Oh, I had no idea you did all these different comics." And I'm like, "Oh, well, thanks. I guess that's." I don't know what to think about that, but thanks. Well, now you know.
Oh,
But
you're
yeah,
Zachary. Oh, I thought you were Zachary. I'm sorry.
You thought, yeah, Zachary, right? Zachary was the one that was doing all those books. Yes, that is the problem.
It's also funny. It works the other way because, like, preparing for this discussion with you, obviously I read Beyond Real, which was excellent, and then I went back and read Mindset because that's when I first actually got introduced to you as a writer. I wasn't actually, I've been a comic book fan my entire life, but I really like went head first into comics about 3 or 4 years ago. And, obviously most of it when I got back into comics about 3 or 4 years ago was a lot of Marvel stuff because I've been a Marvel zombie. And then it slowly worked to like my pull list every week has like maybe a Marvel comic in it. And the rest of it's just
now it's all indie
stuff. Yeah. And but it's kind of funny. I was like, when I started reading Mindset again, I was like, this is the comic book about mind control. I couldn't remember, right? I read it off the shelf. I bought it new issues, like single issues every month, and I read it and I loved it, and so on and so forth. And I remember you had written it when we had discussed this to come on here, but I couldn't remember that was the comic. So it was the funniest thing. I'm like, oh my god, this is the one I've been trying to figure out what it was for so long now, and it happened to be, honestly not so long, but long enough. Funny. Yeah, it happened to be Mindset, and I'm like, oh my gosh, I love this book so much. And then that hit trade in this year, right? It hit,
trade. Mindset was just collected like June or May or June of this year, something just a few months ago. Yeah.
But yeah, that's what I was like. It's so funny how like some people might know the name and not know your books, or know the books and not know the name, and so on and so forth. But like maybe again, you get a free comic book or a cheap comic book like Beyond Real because it's the first issue like that. You might go, oh, who's this Zack Kaplan? And then look up the rest of your stuff and go, wait, you did Eclipse, Port of Earth?
Yeah.
Yeah. It's kind of funny how that works. But I was so glad. It made me so happy because it was like, if we didn't discuss coming on here, I may have gone a long time before I was like, what was that book that I read?
Well, thank you.
Mindset.
Yes. I loved working on Mindset. That was my first Vault book and one of my bestsellers last year. And it continues to people are still finding that book and picking it up. It's been
it's awesome.
Yeah.
It's so good. I love the book so much, but like,
thank you.
In Vault, like I said, it did wonders at Vault. The covers are really good too. Colors, everything in it is beautiful. But that made me think that, go ahead.
I was just going to say, for those of people who are listening who maybe have caught Beyond Real but don't know Mindset, it's a mind control thriller. And it's basically about our relationship with technology. It follows 4 grad students in Silicon Valley who accidentally discover a form of mind control. And instead of like go nuts and party, they decide to do something meaningful and helpful. They put it in a meditation app to free us all of our addiction to our phones. And then a billion people start using their app and they realize, oh, we're not helping people, we're controlling the world with this. And very much about how we're all addicted to our phones and our devices, and we're kind of laughing about it as technology takes our minds away from us. So yes.
it's excellent. It's available in trade. And the best thing about trade paperbacks, I'm a big single issue floppy guy. We do a book club at my LCS, so I do end up buying trades of some things because we read it for the book club. The best thing about trades is that you can get them at bookstores too. So if you don't have a local comic book shop or you don't know where yours is, you can go to like most small independent bookshops or big shops and just say,
if they don't have it on the shelf, they can order it too.
They can get it. Sure. So that's what's cool about that, is that you end up crossing over into another market when it goes into trade, which is pretty cool in my opinion. You can also get it. Get it anywhere you can buy it. Like that's my biggest thing. I say it 1,000 times on this podcast. Like, yes, try to buy local, try to buy from your local shop. But if you can't find it and you can get it on Amazon, just buy it. Just don't not buy it.
It is available on Amazon and Target and Barnes and Noble too. Although if you have the time and patience, it's certainly cool of you to order it from a shop, whether it's a bookstore or a comic shop. Yeah.
In the end, it helps an independent publisher. In the end, it helps a writer or an artist at a creative team if you buy it anywhere. So yes, or support local, but in the same sense, don't skip out on buying it because you don't want to buy it from some online website.
Yeah,
so.
you are helping the indie publisher and the art team and everyone, because when you go into a local comic shop and you buy that book, the managers, the staff, they're going to see that. They're going to see that book continue to move, and they're going to turn around and recommend that book to other people. That's not going to happen at Target. You know, it's very cool to have my book in Target or my book in Barnes and Noble. There are so many books that just go through there. They're not paying attention when one book sells. So you create a real referral community and a real sense of connection for these books when you support local comic shops and bookstores.
Mm-hmm. And now that we're obviously Beyond Real is coming in December, but I was laughing because we talked about book club. I'm like, now that I remembered that Mindset was that book, I'm going to highly recommend it. We read it for book club.
Yes.
Because I'm like, I think everybody will like this book, but
did you do the book? Did you do Mindset for the book club? Was that what?
Not yet. We're going to, I'm hoping. I'm going to highly recommend
You'll have to
it.
Tell me what everyone decides happens at the end. Because that's the ending of Mindset is, was just a thought. It's just a thought-provoking ending, and it's a little interpretive, and I'm curious to hear what everyone thinks happens.
And we've done it in the past too. It's kind of cool because of my connection to the book club. We've actually done it. If I've talked to the creators, we've actually invited sometimes them to join us via Zoom before we actually have our discussion. So maybe if we end up doing it, I'll be back in touch about that, because you can jump on. Do it. I said we got to do it before we start and not during or in like that, because I'm like, I also want people to have free opinions in this book club. So I don't want people like hiding what they actually think about a book. If the creators like sitting there being like, oh, really?
Right.
Oh, you didn't like it? Awesome.
Right. Thanks.
Thanks a lot.
I'll pull an Adam Driver if you've seen that new TikTok where Adam Driver gets asked a question like, why does this part of the movie suck? And he's like, I don't know, F you. Like, what do you want from me?
But I mean, I feel like I haven't only read so far of a Zack Kaplan books is Mindset, and Mindset is
a darker story compared to Beyond Real, but I would say they both deal with one, technology, and two, they're both very surrealist and subjective at times, and I definitely think the same place that you find yourself from a thought-provoking, mindful place in Mindset. If you like that sort of story, what makes you think and makes you question things, Beyond Real is for you as well. I mean, Beyond Real is definitely a story that intends to try to make us question not just are we living in a simulation, but why do we, whenever we subscribe a structure to life, do we assume that it is going to be rigid and not imaginative or loose? And it really is it's not just a love letter to artists, but it's kind of a raising some thoughts and questions about what does it mean to create and the creative process. I mean, we live in a world, in a universe that is all about creation. We are created, everything is created, and cells divide and neurons spin, and these things everything has a path, but then creation is also very messy. So it's just really an exploration about what it means to create, and thinking about is the fabric of our lives determined, predetermined? Is it loose and messy? What is the answer? And I feel like these are definitely like late night kind of questions that we've all kind of thought about, with friends or by ourselves or watching other content. But that was kind of the simulation theory is a really prevalent idea right now. We're living in a simulation, and that means everything must be predetermined. And so it just got me really wanting to pose some questions about this. And I definitely think Beyond Real is like in the same way that Mindset poses questions to the reader and lets them answer them. Beyond Real will do the same. Beyond Real doesn't have all the answers, but it has the questions,
Mm-hmm.
So.
I was thinking about, I wrote about my notes here. It's like, is this actually like conversations that you've had with your friends, whether or not you live in a simulation or not? Like, is this where it came from, or is it just
with myself sometimes? I guess yeah, sometimes I have these kinds of, I like these kinds of conversations. I like geeking out about really existential kind of questions about, fate and determination and the simulation theory thing is super interesting. There's a lot of very credible scientists and physicists and who say, no, this makes sense, which is weird because it's like stepped out of crackpot, out there. And like, you have people who actually like are legitimate who say, from a science standpoint, we all could be in a simulation. So I just like, there's some really fascinating aspects of it. So yeah, I like to talk about this kind of stuff. Yeah, it's interesting.
And you kind of have to have that. Not really. I just don't think I have. I don't have the mindset of, no pun intended, the mindset to think that way. I don't think I have had more questions than answers over the past, 10 years in general anyway, about life and the meaning of life and all that stuff. But like, it's just kind of funny to think about like conversations. I feel like it's like after a few drinks, you're sitting at the bar and it's just like it divulges into this conversation about this is a simulation, da 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 da. And the reason I asked that question, I think, is because you kind of need to have that mind, like if have something to write a book about it. You know what I mean? Like you can't just be like, I'm gonna write a book about whether or not we're living in a simulation or not, and then potentially go and look up. You have to have some sort of preconceived thing to even come up with the idea of wanting to write about this. So I just didn't know if it was like, I'm guessing you did some research to write this book as well.
I did a lot of research about simulation theory, but I think even people who have never even thought about simulation theory, there are lots of people who think about fate. You have lots of people who say, oh, we were fated to meet, or this was destined to happen, or I believe that I was supposed to be at this place at this time, or why does this keep happening to me? I'm on this negative path, or this, I think a lot of people believe in or explore these sorts of aspects in their life. They may not assign the computery simulation component to it, but the nature of our lives and what is predetermined and what is out of our control, I think, is something everyone thinks about.
I mean, I just had a deja vu moment last night. This is my studio space, and I have a bookshelf over here. I was putting some books away, and I have a 2-year-old, and he was playing on the floor, and he was doing something, and my wife was on her desk, and I was like, everything was like the exact same way as it was at some point earlier, like, I don't know, 2 months ago. And I was thinking that the simulation thing, after recently reading something like Beyond Real, is the thought process of like, oh, that's a glitch. We've already run this program before, and they're running it again. And that's not like, wait, that shouldn't happen this way. But yeah, I've always had the conversation too about with my wife, for example. I've been married and divorced, and I have kids. I have a kid on the way. I wouldn't be where I was if it wasn't for my previous marriage and divorce. Like there's a preconceived, you can think the way that this is the way it planned. You do this first, then you get divorced, and then you'll meet your wife, and then you'll be with her forever or whatever. Yeah. And like bad things happen to good people. That whole quote that people say that all the time, why do bad things happen to good people? And I say, you can think about it in a way that's it's determined, and life's supposed to be that way, because bad things happen to good people because something is good's going to happen in the future or something along those lines. Yeah. And it makes you think. It's definitely one of those ones that I don't think most people would think that you're going to think that hard about a comic book. I think that's the benefit you mentioned about the big two versus like independent comics nowadays, is that there's so much more involved than just people beating each other up in New York City.
And Beyond Real is a heartfelt emotional comic. I think it opens with this main character June, who's lost in her life. She's an artist. She hasn't had the realization or understanding that tragedy has led her to where she needs to be. She doesn't understand why her life is in such disarray, and she has the only thing that is her silver lining is she has a boyfriend that she's in love with, that she's happy with, and then there's an accident, and he's put into a coma, and it throws her life into total turmoil and chaos. At the same time, she develops this kind of supernatural phenomena to be able to engage with life in a strange way that she doesn't entirely understand. Ultimately, she realizes she's kind of gained editorial access to the simulation. She's able to travel through it. But it's very much about, going through hard times and going through tragedies and going through moments where we feel lost and not understanding why these things are happening. And I think it's something that artists go through specifically in relationship to how they, or creatives, in terms of how they find their voice in themselves in whatever creative path they're doing. And it's hard to be a creative and they take hits, but it's also something that people can relate to just in general in life. You know, when you face a tragedy or when you face a repetition of something continually happening that you feel is negative, and you know, what am I supposed to make of this? And is it prepared? You know, then you might come out on the other side and say, oh, well, this has prepared me for this positive experience, or I had to go through this. And so, but it's hard when you're having a negative thing happen to feel that that is predetermined, you know, and that's really a painful kind of experience. So yeah, Beyond Real goes there, and it's definitely, I mean, I guess I do try to write deep, complex, meaningful kind of character questions like this, but Beyond Real definitely goes into that territory, which I think is I think readers will hopefully find very fulfilling, because you know, I think the first issue will grab the hell out of you, and you fall in love with June. It's also drawn gorgeously, and I should segue here to say, so the series has 7 different artists, 2 colorists, and a letterer on the whole series. We're actually changing artists as we go to different parts. Different artists are drawing different parts of the simulation. In the beginning, Fabiana Mascolo and Jordi Belair are artists at the beginning, just so beautifully capture this character and just kind of this ordinary world and what she's going through emotionally. And then once she leaves the ordinary world and goes beyond, it's game on in terms of all these amazing artists just tearing the hell out of this thing. Tony Fajula, Vincenzo Riccardi, Dennis Menhier, Jorge Corona, Liana Kangas, Luana Vecchio, Matea Iacono is another colorist in there, and they're all just creating these breathtaking worlds as June travels through them on her kind of Wizard of Oz journey towards the center of the simulation to find, you know, the truth about life. It's just so gorgeous. I cannot help but brag about the art in this book, because I really believe it's going to be one of the most beautiful comics on shelves, not just in December, but all next year.
All next year.
It's so
How many issues are you doing?
It's 5-issue miniseries.
Cool. That's awesome.
So
now, I had in my notes saying it's visually stunning in the sense that I love the idea, and I personally love your writing, and so there's that aspect of it. And a lot of times people I have a lot of writers on the podcast versus, you know, illustrators or colorists, and it's kind of funny because I really like the art. It's always fun to have the writer on, because we can get back and forth and like we talk like all great things about these artists, and they're not sitting here going, yeah, it's me. You know, like we could just praise the writers.
I can brag about the artists. Well, you know, like Mindset, I worked with John Pearson, who is an amazing artist too, and we had a lot of fun playing with form, playing with surrealism and all sorts of things. He's incredible too, an Eisner winner. But I think Beyond Real is different in the sense that, I mean, John, to his credit, in Mindset, a lot of that story is about ordinary scenes. You know, people at a party on a boat, people in a lab, in a classroom, people on a bluff looking out at a city, like very ordinary situations. He takes those ordinary situations or 2 people at dinner and makes them really interesting, because we're playing with the emotionality and the power dynamics of that scene. Beyond Real is like, you know, Vincenzo Riccardi is drawing like all nature comes to life. You know, double page spread, the hills, the mountains, the forest, the trees, the air is all alive and constantly moving and personified. Go. You know, Tony Fajula is like, girl is on a building looking out at a cityscape where the entire city is like a linear geometric like power grid, and like there's a billion lines and you can see people inside. Go. And like, so when I say visually stunning, it's like just crazy world building, crazy world building. And these artists are so distinct in their style. You'll look at these artists and you'll say they're literally like a very tiny handful of artists that could draw this the way this artist has drawn this. It's so distinct.
And the depiction of it, it's so June is trying when she's struggling, when she's finding out really that this is simulation is what it is. There's like this visually a visual moments that breaking through almost in a sense, and that to me was also like, how would you depict if you're easily you could write this as a novel, right?
Yeah.
And just write it, and then you explain it a little bit about the simulation and so on and so forth. But like visually depicting
in the first issue,
yes,
in the beginning,
how this happens
before
yes.
she's traveled actually through before she's left the ordinary world, her ordinary world is actually collapsing.
Yes,
and she's actually engaging, and so that's Fabiana Mascolo and Jordi Belair. Like she's drawing, and her pen is not just breaking through the paper, but breaking through life's boundaries. Or you see a panel where the literally the panel itself is fraying, and the part of her bedroom is collapsing. And so we had a lot of fun. And what's also very interesting is those moments where we're playing with what's happening to reality is also perfectly mirroring what's happening to her emotionally. And so you can really feel the metaphor at hand about she's going through something painful and hard, and she feels like her world is collapsing, and that's when her world collapses. Or she feels like the noise of everybody else's ordinary wonderful day is drowning her in she can't, it's overwhelming, and so she's hearing everyone's thoughts. And so we playing a lot with the metaphor of pain and tragedy. And I think that's something that I really have fallen in love with in storytelling recently, is the subjectivity of storytelling, where you can see something strange and supernatural or sci-fi happening to her, but you almost don't even know if it's real or if it's a metaphor, basically. Like you could almost imagine that this is all just metaphoric for how she's feeling emotionally, but there it is on the page being visually represented, and so you take it at face value. So it's
visually stunning is a great words to use for it. I mean, it's like I said, it's well written as well, but like the visuals to it is one of those things that I'm going to reread the book to reread the story, but also just maybe one run through the book. I'm just going to run through the book and just look at it visually. Look at all the panels. Look at all the. It's that one of those ones that's not, the art's not just there to serve the story. It's like part of the story, and that's really cool. And not to mention Hassan's lettering is phenomenal as well. So like one of those things that lettering I've had a few letterers on the podcast and discussing the idea that you want to like add to the visual aspect of it, but not take away by making it distracting. And there's some sort of use that Hassan does with the bubbles almost off the page too, and behind other bubbles and things that like that to me stood out, but not in a bad way. It just added to the whole experience of reading the first couple issues.
I've done a few other series with Hassan, and I'm doing more with Hassan. My Dark Horse book is with Hassan as well. He's one of the best colorists in the business. And not only does he do an amazing job of playing with the duality of the first issue, where we both have ordinary and extraordinary kind of coming together, and he's creating a lettering style that carries you through all these different kind of dynamic layouts, and playing with that, what you're talking about of when we're in just reality and when we're drifting back into something more. But then he is taking on completely different styles throughout each world that June travels. All these other artists that I've mentioned, he's developing a style that both carries through the entire series, but also shifts accordingly. So Eisner's for best letterer, Hassan doing 7 different artists over a 5-issue miniseries in this way. Absolutely. Yes.
It's funny too, because I obviously when you email the press people and some of your fellow creatives the first 3 issues, and we have we can't put anything up about it for a couple of weeks now, but or a little while now, but that first 3 issue thing, it's so funny because I felt like maybe would have experienced it slightly different if I only read the first issue compared to reading 2 and 3 as well. And like every once in a while, like these streaming services nowadays will like put like 2 or 3 episodes up and then the rest of it week to week. I almost feel like I wish this is what you could have done. Like first month, you could have like put out December 13th. You could have put out like issue 1 is free, and then there's 2 and 3 like on the shelf as well that you can buy all at the same time. And then like in January and February, like the last.
It's not a bad idea,
but like that to me was like, it made it so much more impactful in that sense. And maybe that's one of the beneficial things you'll get from that free comic is that
I think
someone will, you know,
that speaks to something that we did here, which is I think issue 1 is emotionally really will grab you, and it's really a fascinating situation, you know, but we're only giving you a taste of the world building to come at the tail end of issue 1. And then the amount of world building that's being withheld that you see in issues 2 and 3 is so incredible that getting to experience the first 3 issues for this particular one all at once, or the first 2 issues, is really something. But I you know, while that was your experience, I'm still very optimistic that most readers who are picking up issue 1 will be so engrossed and curious about what is to come. And there is certainly a really fun cliffhanger and a taste at the end of issue 1 in terms of the world to come. I think that it will be enough for them to take them through to the series. And this is something I do think works very well as a monthly, because you have different artists drawing it in different worlds, that it's not like, oh, I kind of know what to expect, now I can wait for the trade. I do think there's a value to picking up month to month if you like to do that.
Yeah, exactly. And I do think that I always hate to use the statement, it leaves you wanting more, because it can be taken the wrong way, like there wasn't enough.
No, aren't we supposed to want more? No, that's a good thing.
Yeah, it's like the end of an issue.
What a crazy thing in episodic storytelling, that you would be like, what I'd really like to do is read a chapter that ends so boring that I don't want any more, and I can come back only if why would you want to come back if you don't want more? How many of us have dropped shows? We start a show and you say, everyone was raving about this show, did you watch it? I watched the first episode, but it didn't leave me wanting more, so I didn't come back to that episode. That's the point. We all want to be excited to come back wanting more. So that's what good stories do, you know. It doesn't have to be gimmicky. It doesn't have to be that kind of thing where like the person is hanging off the cliff and you're like, oh, then they dropped and there was another step underneath them, and like it was a fake scare, you know.
They're always dreaming. They're just dreaming.
Yeah, they're always dreaming. Right, they woke up.
Yeah, no, but it's one of those things that you can take it the wrong way. If someone's like, oh, they didn't give you enough, you want more, it's what they're supposed to do. But the idea is that it gets me to go to the store next month and buy the next issue because I want to know, and in a good way, in a sense that I've read books where it was almost so bad in the first issue that I was like, I want to see if this gets better. Like I want to see, I want the next issue just because I want to see if they resolved the issues they had in the first issue, and then you end up getting the second. You end up getting the second issue, and it's like they didn't do it. We're done. But no, this is one of those ones where it's like I want to see where June is going after, and that's why like immediately when the best thing I said about having a couple issues to read was I could read the next one. Oh my gosh, I'm excited. But I do see that, and I do agree with a lot of the streaming services nowadays doing weekly, because it also gives the discussion in between. You're gonna have fans of your work, fans of the artist's work discussing what's going to happen next between issues. You're going to have the local comic book shop around the water cooler being like, did you read Beyond Real? Because I had that all the time when someone comes in and maybe
having issue 1 free and having a couple on the shelf is a cool idea. And I mean, look, what I liked about Vault playing with this free to retail thing is they're exploring other ways to do this. And I think there are other ways out there. Hopefully not just Vault will continue to explore, but maybe you'll see other people continue to explore. I don't think a little creativity in this area is a bad thing.
No, and my LCS owner was saying that one of the best things about the Unnatural Order thing is that like he obviously had ordered more copies of #1 than he probably had ordered of any copies of #1 of any comic book over the past couple of years. We're out here in Maine. He's a small independent comic book store that knows what his audience is like. So there's certain issues that get 5 issues. Sometimes he gets the 1 in 10. Sometimes he gets the 1 in 25 stuff. But most of it's like, there's a lot of comic books that are on his shelf that don't even make it to the shelf because he only orders 3 copies because he knows 3 people want it. And as a small independent shop, you have to make sure that you're not obviously burying yourself in back issues. But with something like Unnatural Order, when he was like, I ordered extra because how great would it be that the people who got the first issue, but then didn't hear about the issue or didn't know about it, when issue 2 comes out, I put issue 1 next to issue 2, and there is both copies for people like, oh, I missed out. No, you didn't.
Right.
I've got it right here. And so
That's
the same thing, he'll probably over-order.
Yeah, because once you get into 2 and 3 and 4, if you don't have any more 1, if 1 has sold out at the distributor level just because it was a lower print run, but there was demand, now you're stuck with people waiting for the trade. So yes, having an excess of issue 1 is an opportunity for retailers to incentivize them to and readers then to come into 2 through 5. So yeah, it's
the number of times you go to like, oh, we're gonna put some packs of comics together. I'm gonna go grab, 1 through 6, all of Mindset. We're gonna grab them all and put it in a box or a bundle so people can buy them all together. And you go back there and it's like issues 2 through, like it doesn't, issue 1's not there because issue 1 sold like hotcakes because it was an issue 1. But to have a few extras to be able to, put that, and I don't know, maybe throwing he has like 20 or 30 pull list customers, like throwing one in each one of the person's box. You're forced to take this book this week.
Yeah, take it.
It's free. Yes. Take it. You
don't
want
ask
it, and
them. Yes, just give it to them. Yeah,
just give it to them, and then go from there. It's a cool idea in the first place of giving that free issue out, like we mentioned off the top. But I honestly think the book is going to sell. The cover itself is also attractive.
John Pearson, my Mindset artist, does our entire A series cover, and the first cover is very, very striking and really incredible. It's again playing with duality of you seeing her sleep and then seeing this kind of metaphysical, artistic I don't even know how to describe it, the phenomena happening. Fabian, then there's some other amazing covers that are whether it's Fabiana or Jorge Corona has a cover, Luana Vechu has a cover, Liana Kangas did a New York Comic Con exclusive cover, which is not going to be in shops, but there's a few probably floating around. That one's freaking gorgeous too.
Liana we're big fans of Liana.
I'm excited for everyone to I'm excited for everyone to see Liana's interiors.
Yes, I can't wait. I mean, personally, I'm a member of Liana's Patreon, so I can't wait. There's some things that obviously we get to see a little bit ahead of time on there, too. So I'm excited for that stuff too. But yeah, the artwork, I think they're not related. Like Mindset and this are obviously not related. It's not like a sequel. It's not in the same universe. This is just another one of your stories. But you can see the easy transition that someone did like Mindset a lot, like the artwork or the color, or the cover. I mean, if you like your writing, it's very easy to say, if you liked Mindset, you're probably going to enjoy this series as well.
Which is funny, the exact opposite spectrum for me is the new Dark Horse book, Kill All Immortals.
And that's coming out, February?
That's a February book, and this is Immortal Vikings fighting present day John Wick style. It's like a secession style power family, like a billionaire power family. But what we find out is that it's Eric the Red and his 4 adult children who discovered immortality 1,000 years ago, and now they're like, a billionaire family of immortal Vikings. And in that regard, and then it's just like Berserker, something's killing the children, Magic Order, mayhem, in terms of just an awesome ongoing action series. And very different on the spectrum. I mean, I think there's still some of my love of like complex character stories and like character drama is for sure in there. And there's a little bit of commentary on billionaire class and family, billionaire family stuff, but it definitely the opposite in terms of Beyond Real, or like some of these, which are far more art. I don't know what not artistic, but just like surrealist a bit more. There's nothing surrealist about Frey and her 2 axes fighting and kicking ass. So yes,
exactly. And you're doing, obviously you mentioned Hassan's on that one lettering. Jordi Belair is doing colors.
Fico Ossio is the artist. Oh, so good. For those of you who don't know Fico, he's done some big 2 stuff in Action Comics, Mr. Miracle. He did No One Left to Fight, which was a 2-arc book at Dark Horse, but far more colorful and a kind of different style completely than what Fico's doing on this, and what he's done more on some of his big 2 stuff. And then Jordi Belair is coloring it, and Fico and Jordi are just another amazing team. Really some cool stuff. And Hassan's, and then yeah, we've got Tom Muller did our amazing logo on that. Oliver Barrett is our cover artist. We have such a amazing cover A there. Vincenzo Riccardi and Raphael Albuquerque did covers as well. So yeah, super excited for people to check that one out.
I love Dark Horse personally. Have you done Dark Horse books before, or is this your first Dark Horse? Okay.
This is my second one. I did Breakout, which was my my sci-fi prison break heist last year with them. And so this is my second series with Dark Horse.
Yes, I love Dark Horse. It's funny too, because if we hadn't set this up on our own, Caitlin over at Dark Horse is very good about hooking us up. Yeah, would have gotten you. We would have been looped in at some point on this anyway. But the fun thing is you've been on this one this episode to talk about mostly Beyond Real, which drops December 13th at local comic book shops. Obviously, sadly, I think final order cutoff was yesterday. Today?
Yeah. Today? When I don't know. Whenever we go here.
This is past final order.
Yes. The FOC probably has already happened. That doesn't mean that your shop can't order one for you between the listening of this and the release day. And certainly with the free to retailer, every shop's going to be doing different things. So you ask your shop, tell your shop, don't wait because you hear about this free to retailer thing. Don't wait assuming that there will be one on the shelf. There may not be one on the shelf. That there may be a dynamic where they've worked out things with pull customers. You just don't know. So definitely tell your shop you want one and you want to pre-order and see what they're doing about it. And
to get it. Yeah. And then you can get, obviously, like I said, Get Mindset while you're there doing that. But I personally recommend grab all your stuff. But like other than that, like I could personally recommend Mindset. And then Kill All Immortals. Look for that too, because that FOC will come in a future date.
You can pre-order that while you're there, and I think that the final cutoff for that won't be until January, but you can certainly tell them about it while you're picking up other stuff of mine, and that'll come out in February.
But so it's so great to see these books coming in the future. But as we get closer to Kill All Immortals, obviously I don't like to have someone on so quick, but it doesn't mean that when the trade comes out for Kill All Immortals, we don't come back and have the whole story in people's hands or about to be in people's hands. And we can talk about that even more in depth.
I might have more books already announced and coming or out. Who knows? By the time the Kill All Immortals trades come out, I'll probably have more stuff out too. So yeah.
So I tend to try to keep this a little PG-13 or so when we talk on here, but I wanted to leave this. I have left one note on here that Beyond Real is a mind fuck. So I want people to read Beyond Real. It really is amazing. There's so much to look at on the book, so much to read. It's easy read, good pacing. So check that out. We will have obviously something up on our website as well as we get closer to when the embargo on writing reviews on it gets lifted, I guess. Not as well. It's not like movie TV stuff where there's like physically like some sort of like gate that gets lifted, but it's close to that. They do keep it contained a little bit out there. But absolutely.
Thank you for the kind words. Thank you very
much. I appreciate you taking the time out of your day to come on here and talk comics and all that stuff here. And we'll get you back on definitely. And you're on social media, I'm guessing as well, right?
What was that?
You're on social media, I'm guessing.
Oh yeah. Everyone can find me on all the platforms. The X, as everyone likes to call it. Really the only platform you need, but if you happen to need another one, I'm on Blue Sky, Facebook, Instagram, Threads. I don't ever use, but I'm threading. I'm threading.
I think all of us got like our name to make sure we had our handle.
Another one better set up here too. I'm on all those at Zack Caps, and definitely reach out and let me know what you think when you do check it out in December 13th.
Let people know about that. It's great. Buy it for someone or get it for someone for a Christmas present. There you go.
There you go.
Someone put it in their stocking. That's a stocking stuff right there. Beyond Real. Again, thank you, Zack, so much for taking the time out of your day to come on here. And we'll get you back on in the future.
Love to. Thank you so much.